The divisions over the Trans Mountain Pipeline don't end at the border between BC and Alberta. As Briar Stewart tells us, the project is also dividing First Nations in BC.
Not far from where the new Trans Mountain Pipeline would end,
it was built out of one cedar tree.
Stands what Indigenous groups are calling a watch house.
I think it's only fitting we put it here.
It's part of a long-standing protest against a project the Prime Minister is committed to.
It's totally unacceptable for him to want to push this through, from Alberta, coming through our traditional territories to this body of water that we're protecting. It's unacceptable to carry on.
No, Kinder Morgan! Well, the political maneuvering continues. Those here say so will the protests. Well, some First Nations are strongly opposed to this pipeline and are challenging it in court. Dozens of others have signed lucrative agreements with Kinder Morgan and are frustrated that they could lose out on millions if the project doesn't go ahead. The Whispering Pines Clinton Indian Band was the first to sign an agreement with Kinder Morgan, and the chief says they're losing out on jobs and tax revenue, which should already be coming their way.
Had they started this in 2014, we would be covering the pipe back up, but we're still 6 months from shovels in the ground, and so those are the kinds of things that my community finds annoying.
While groups remain divided over the pipeline, there's another layer that complicates this project: the issue of just who should have say over what.
It sounded like Premier Horgan had been called into the principal's office.
Jocelyn Stacey is a law professor at UBC. She says even if the federal government tries to reaffirm its jurisdiction through new legislation, that too could end up being challenged in court.
There's no question that the federal government has constitutional authority over the pipeline. Where there's uncertainty is over the effects of the pipeline on the environment, and the environment is shared jurisdiction.
Which is why the politics around the pipeline remain so complicated, and why even after all this time, there are still no guarantees about its future. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Vancouver.